Ever stood in the supplement aisle, staring at dozens of protein powders and wondering which is the best? You're not alone. In this video, I will be ranking every popular protein powder from S tier, which will represent the GOAT section, or in other words, the top of the top, to D tier, which is the worst, and we will call it the trash section. I'll be ranking these supplements based on a mix of 5 key criteria, with a dash of personal experience and science for each. Effectiveness, muscle building capability, and amino acid profile. Does it have all the essential aminos? Does it trigger muscle growth well? Taste, because if it tastes like chalky sludge, you're not going to look forward to it. Mixability, how easily it dissolves. No one likes protein clumps or foam. Digestibility, is it gentle on the stomach or a gas bomb? Think bloating, allergens, etc. Price, value for money. High quality protein is great, but not if it drains your wallet. Before we dive in, a quick note on protein quality. Scientists often use scores like PDCAAS, which stands for Protein Digestibility Corrected Amino Acid Score, or the newer DIAAS to rate protein sources. The highest possible score is 1.0, meaning a protein has all essential amino acids in adequate amounts and is highly digestible. For context, whey, casein, soy, and egg proteins all score 1.0 or perfect on the PDCAAS, while beef is a bit lower, around 0.92, pea around 0.82, and hemp seed way down around 0.5. Keep these numbers in mind as we rank each powder. And remember, each tier reflects an overall balance of pros and cons. A lower tier protein isn't useless, it just means it has more drawbacks relative to the top tier options. Let's start with an underdog from the animal kingdom that gained hype recently. Beef protein powder. Sounds intense, like you're chugging a steak, but the reality is far less glamorous. Most beef protein supplements are made from collagen-rich parts like hides and bones, not actual meat, making them closer to gelatin than sirloin. That's a problem because collagen-based proteins are incomplete, low in essential amino acids like leucine, which is crucial for muscle growth. Studies show beef isolate can support lean mass but falls short compared to whey, especially in muscle protein synthesis. The PDCAAS protein quality score can be as low as 0 if it's mostly collagen, while real beef muscle sits near 0.9. Taste-wise, it's an acquired experience. Imagine mixing bone broth into a chocolate shake or worse, fruit punch. Some brands load it with sweeteners to mask the brothy aftertaste, but it's still off-putting for many. On the bright side, it's dairy-free and easy on digestion, though not especially filling or satisfying. It mixes decently but can foam, and the psychological disconnect, where's the steak, is real. To top it off, beef protein tends to be pricier than whey, which is ironic since it's made from meat byproducts. Unless you have specific dietary restrictions like dairy and soy allergies, beef protein is hard to recommend. It's not completely useless, you're still getting some protein, but it lands firmly in C tier, a niche option when nothing better is available. Next up, the classic gym bro staple, whey protein concentrate. If you've ever had a protein shake, chances are it was whey. This version is less filtered than isolate, typically around 80% protein by weight, with small amounts of fat and lactose. What makes whey concentrate so popular? It's a complete protein, rich in essential amino acids and BCAAs like leucine, which is key for muscle growth. It digests quickly, making it great post-workout, and decades of research support its effectiveness. While it digests a bit slower than isolate due to the extra fats, the difference in actual muscle gains is negligible for most lifters. Taste-wise, whey concentrate usually beats isolate. The small bit of fat and carbs give it a creamier, milkshake-like flavor that's hard to beat. It mixes easily in water or milk, rarely clumps, and it delivers a smooth, satisfying texture. My first protein shake was a chocolate whey concentrate in high school, and it blew my mind that bulking could taste like dessert. The main drawback? Lactose. If you're sensitive, you might experience bloating or discomfort after larger servings. For most, a moderate 20 to 25 gram dose is just fine, but if you're very lactose intolerant, isolate is the safer choice. Still, whey concentrate is generally light on the stomach and won't leave you feeling stuffed. Where it really shines is value. It's significantly cheaper than isolate, while offering nearly the same muscle-building benefits. You're essentially trading a bit of lactose and a few extra calories for serious savings. Plus, you keep some immune-boosting compounds like lactoferrin and immunoglobulins that get filtered out in isolation. Bottom line, whey concentrate earns a strong A tier. It's effective, delicious, budget-friendly, and checks almost every box. The only thing keeping it from S tier is the lactose content and slightly lower purity, which only really matters if you're super sensitive or cutting to the bone. For most people, it's the best bang for your buck in the protein world. Now for a protein powder at the opposite end of the spectrum, Hemp Protein, a favorite in the plant-based and health food crowd, often labeled a superfood. But when it comes to building muscle, it's firmly D tier. Hemp protein is made by grinding defatted hemp seeds into powder, but even then, it's only about 50% protein. The rest is mostly fiber and a bit of fat. That fiber may help digestion, but it makes shakes gritty, thick, and potentially bloating, especially if you're not used to that much fiber at once. The bigger issue? A poor amino acid profile. While hemp technically contains all essential aminos, it lacks enough of the key ones, like lysine, making it effectively incomplete. Its PDCAAS, which is the measure of protein quality, hovers around 0.5 to 0.6, half as effective gram for gram as whey or soy isolate. There's also little research supporting hemp protein for muscle growth, and you'd need to consume large amounts and all that fiber to get enough usable aminos. Sure, it's more natural and comes with some omega-3s, iron, and magnesium, but if we're judging by muscle building value, hemp falls short. As for taste, imagine blending grass and dirt. Earthy, nutty, and hard to mask even with flavoring. Texture is also a problem. Hemp doesn't dissolve well, and shakes settle into a chalky sludge fast. I once mixed hemp with almond milk, and by the time I got halfway through, the bottom was a thick layer of green sediment. Not exactly shake of the year material. Bottom line, hemp protein might have whole food appeal, but it's gritty, weak in amino acids, and not efficient for muscle building. Unless you're using it as a fiber supplement with bonus protein, it belongs in D tier. Time to crack into another animal-based option, egg white protein. Before whey took over, egg protein, often called albumin, was the gold standard in bodybuilding. It's essentially just spray-dried egg whites, and when it comes to protein quality, it's elite. A complete amino acid profile, rich in leucine and arginine, and typically scoring 1.0 on the PDCAAS scale, just like whole eggs. Research confirms that egg protein effectively stimulates muscle protein synthesis. Not quite as fast as whey due to slower digestion, but still top tier in effectiveness. So why isn't it S or A tier? Mainly because of its taste, texture, and cost. Egg white protein has a mild but distinct eggy aroma, especially in unflavored versions. Not terrible, but definitely noticeable. Even when flavored, it often has a slightly chalky texture and faint aftertaste. Mixability is another issue. Like raw egg whites, it tends to foam and clump unless blended carefully. Shaking it cold can lead to clumps. Using a blender or room temperature water helps, but it's still fussier than whey. Digestibility, however, is solid. It's lactose-free, easy on the stomach, and a good option for those avoiding dairy. Plus, it's moderately slow digesting, which can help with satiation. The final drawback? Price. Egg protein is often more expensive per serving than whey isolate, and you're not really getting any added perks, just pure, high-quality protein. That's why egg white protein lands in B tier. Excellent from a nutritional standpoint and a great option for dairy-free lifters, but gets held back by mixability quirks, taste, and cost. If you can deal with a little foam and shell out a bit more cash, it's still a very solid choice. Just maybe don't shake it like a maniac unless you want to make a meringue in your shaker bottle. If one plant protein falls short, why not pair it with another? That's the logic behind blended plant proteins, which combines multiple sources, most commonly pea and rice protein, to cover each other's amino acid gaps. Pea is low in methionine, but high in lysine, while rice is the opposite, and together they form a complete protein with a PDCAAS score of up to 1.0, rivaling whey. Some blends also toss in extras like hemp, quinoa, pumpkin seed, or chia for added nutrients or marketing appeal, though these don't necessarily boost protein quality. When it comes to muscle building effectiveness, plant blends far outperform any single plant protein. Research shows they can stimulate muscle protein synthesis comparably to whey, as long as you're hitting your total protein needs. Taste and mixability have also come a long way. While old vegan powders were gritty and bitter, newer blends are smoother and more drinkable. Pea and rice together tend to balance each other out, still a bit thick and with minor graininess, but far more palatable than they used to be. Add in natural flavors, sweeteners, or enzymes, and most people find these blends digest easily, especially since they're free from dairy, soy, gluten, and other common allergens. Price-wise, they're generally mid-range, comparable to whey isolate or slightly cheaper depending on branding and add-ons. Given the improved taste, solid digestibility, and nearly complete amino profile, blended plant proteins earn a solid A tier. They may not be silky smooth like whey, but for vegans, lactose intolerant folks, or anyone just looking to diversify, plant blends are no longer a compromise. They're a legit, effective protein source. Continuing with plant proteins, let's talk rice protein, the hawkeye of the lineup. It has its uses, but it's definitely not the powerhouse. Usually made from brown rice, rice protein is about 70 to 80% protein by weight, with some carbs and fiber left in. It's rich in methionine, but very low in lysine, an essential amino acid critical for muscle growth, which makes it an incomplete protein. Its PDCAAS hovers around 0.5, even lower than pea. This means relying on rice protein alone won't give your muscles the full building blocks they need. One often cited study shows rice protein could match whey for gains, but only when taken in very high doses like 48 grams and as a part of a balanced diet. On its own, effectiveness is limited. That's why rice protein lands in D tier. It really needs to be paired with another protein like pea or soy to be useful for muscle building. Taste and mixability? Not great. It's dry, chalky, and gritty, with a bland, starchy flavor even when flavored. Mixability is average. It works better in a blender than a shaker due to its grainy texture. On the bright side, rice protein is hypoallergenic, dairy and gluten-free, and generally easy on digestion, though the fiber might cause mild bloating in large amounts. It's also fairly cheap, but you'll often need bigger servings to hit effective protein targets, which offsets the value. In short, rice protein is okay in a pinch or in a blend, but as a standalone muscle-building supplement, it's one of the weakest choices. If you're using it, pair it with lysine-rich proteins or foods to round things out. Now let's slow things down. Literally, casein protein is whey's slower, steadier cousin. While whey digests fast, casein forms a gel in your stomach, releasing amino acids gradually over several hours. Effectiveness-wise, it's a complete protein with a PDCAAS of 1.0, and research shows it's excellent for preventing muscle breakdown, especially when taken before bed. It may not spike muscle protein synthesis as quickly as whey, but it sustains elevated amino levels, supporting recovery and retention over time, especially useful during sleep or dieting phases. Some studies even highlight pre-sleep casein as a strategy for improving strength and lean mass. Texture-wise, casein shakes are thicker and creamier than whey, almost like a yogurt or pudding, which many people love. You can even turn it into a protein sludge with minimal water for a dessert-like treat. The flavor tends to be rich and mild, but mixability can be a challenge. Casein clumps easily and doesn't fully dissolve, so use a blender or mix it slowly to avoid making a cement-like lump. Digestibility is generally good, though its slower digestion can leave some feeling a bit full or heavy, especially with large servings. While it's low in lactose, those with dairy allergies or strong intolerance should avoid it. Price-wise, casein is usually a bit more expensive than whey concentrate, often on par with isolate, due to more complex processing. Overall, casein earns a strong A tier. It's a high-quality, effective, slow-digesting protein perfect for overnight recovery. It's not quite S tier only because of its situational use and quirks with mixing or digestion. But when used right, like before sleep, it's one of the best tools in a muscle-building stack. Personally, a casein pudding before bed is my go-to dessert for me, and it helps fuel my muscles till morning. Time to revisit the plant world with pea protein, one of the most popular vegan-friendly options out there. Made from yellow split peas, it's usually processed into a protein isolate with about 80 to 85% protein by weight. Nutritionally, it's almost a complete protein. It contains all essential amino acids, but it's a bit low in methionine, which drops its PDCAAS to around 0.82, slightly below whey or soy. Still, it's high in BCAAs and arginine, and some studies have shown that pea protein can match whey in muscle building effectiveness when taken in similar doses. In fact, 12-week studies with resistance-trained individuals found no significant difference in muscle thickness or strength gains between whey and pea. The catch? You may need a slightly bigger scoop of pea protein to hit the optimal leucine threshold, which is about 2.5 grams for muscle protein synthesis. Not a deal breaker, but worth knowing. So why does pea protein land in C tier? Mainly due to taste and texture. Pea protein has a distinct, earthy, vegetal flavor. Some say it tastes like bean water or pea soup. especially when unflavored. Most brands do a decent job masking it, but you can still catch plenty of aftertaste. The texture is thick and creamy with a touch of graininess, better than rice or hemp, but not as smooth as whey, and it can leave a bit of coating in your mouth. Mixability is solid though, especially if you use a shaker ball or a blender. On the digestibility front, pea protein is lactose-free, gluten-free, and usually easy on the stomach, though some people may get mild bloating due to residual plant compounds. Price-wise, it's moderately priced, cheaper than whey isolate or fancy blends, but it's a bit more than soy. All in all, pea protein is a solid, middle-of-the-road option, great for vegans, allergy-friendly, decent for muscle building, but held back by a slightly incomplete amino profile and a flavor not everyone loves. Use it solo, and it's average. Pair it with something like rice protein or methionine-rich foods, and it gets a lot better. Now on to soy protein, a plant-based classic with plenty of history and debate. Derived from soybeans, usually in isolate or concentrate, soy is a complete protein, delivering all essential amino acids and scoring around 0.98 to 1.0 on the PDCAAS scale. While it has slightly less leucine than whey, about 2.5 grams per 30 grams versus whey's 3 grams plus, studies show soy can build muscle just as effectively when matched for total protein or leucine content. It's also rich in glutamine and arginine, supporting recovery. The old soy equals estrogen myth? Thoroughly debunked. Meta-analyses have confirmed that moderate soy intake has no significant effect on male hormones. So no, soy protein won't mess with your testosterone. Taste-wise, soy has a mild beanie or nut flavor, which most flavored powders mask fairly well, though a subtle aftertaste remains. The texture is smooth and it mixes easily without clumps, though the shakes tend to be thinner than those made with whey or pea. Digestibility is solid. Soy isolate is fiber-free and usually light on the stomach, but it is a common allergen, and some people may get minor bloating or discomfort. A bonus? Soy contains isoflavones with antioxidant properties, and it may modestly lower LDL cholesterol, though that's outside the hypertrophy lens. In terms of cost, soy is very affordable, making it a go-to for budget-conscious lifters. So why not A tier? Despite being nearly as effective as whey, soy protein's taste, thinner texture, and lingering stigma keep it just short of the top. Also, newer options like blends or higher leucine isolates may edge it out. Still, soy protein earns a solid B tier. Well-researched, effective, and underrated. If it works for your diet and preferences, you're absolutely not missing out on gains. We've come to the grand finale. And no surprise here, whey protein isolate sits firm in S tier, the gold standard of protein powders. It's a highly refined form of whey, stripped of most carbs and fats to yield around 90 to 95% protein by weight, making it virtually lactose-free and incredibly fast digesting. Effectiveness-wise, it's about as good as it gets. A complete amino acid profile, high leucine content, around 3 grams per 25 gram serving, and decades of research confirming its muscle-building power, especially post-workout. It floods your system with amino acids in under an hour, ideal for rapid recovery. Compared to whey concentrate, the muscle-building edge isn't massive, but isolate's purity, speed, and digestibility give it an edge for those who want a max efficiency or have lactose issues. Taste and mixability? Still excellent. It's slightly thinner than concentrate due to the lower fat content, but smooth, clean, and easy to mix, often dissolving fully even with a spoon. Flavored isolates taste great, think vanilla milkshake vibes in water, even better in almond milk. Digestibility is also a major win, with less than 1% lactose. It's easy on most stomachs, and the fast digestion means no heaviness. The only real downside is price. Isolate costs more to produce, and that shows on the label. Still, for many, it's worth it, especially around workouts, during a cut, or if you're sensitive to dairy. Smart lifters often combine isolate and concentrate to balance budget and performance. Bottom line, whey isolate sets the bar, with unmatched bioavailability, great taste, fast absorption, and wide tolerance. It's the ultimate go-to for most omnivores. After trying all kinds of proteins, soy, beef, hemp, etc., I always come back to isolate for its consistency, ease, and results. It's not hype, it's earned its place. Whey isolate is the undisputed S-tier champion of protein powders. If you want to achieve a Greek god physique naturally, make sure you watch this video where I rank the best and worst exercises for muscle building.